Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of FA Live. Yes, waves all around for this great crew that I have. My name is Caitlin Brower. I'm the Director of Social Media, Public Relations, and Events here at First Advantage, and I am also your host of FA Live. We have a great episode today. As you can see on the bottom of the screen, we're going to explore our 2025 Global Trends Report. We recently had a webinar on this report, so we're going to dive into some of those insights, and we're going to dive into a lot of the insights from the report as well. You'll go ahead if you're watching live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube right now. The report and the on-demand webinar are in the comment section. So go ahead, get those downloaded, and then get some more insight here. So I have an awesome panel with me today. So we have Brian Larrow, Chuck Lauer, and Nuno Ricardo. I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to all of them to go ahead and introduce themselves. So Brian, I will start with you.
Thanks, Caitlin. So Brian Larrow, I'm been with the company 12 years, started off in the global space. So you'll see a theme as we get into this, and been on this strategic consulting team, which I'm sure Nuno will introduce, for the last 7+ years.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us. Chuck, can you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Hi, my name's Chuck Lauer. Like Brian, I am a strategic consultant here at First Advantage. Been here for a little over 8 years. Prior to being here, I worked at Nielsen with geodemographic segmentation and was also a personnel research psychologist. So as Brian likes to talk about how themes sort of show up in what he talks about, similarly, themes show up with what I talk about too.
We love to see it, and we're going to see it a lot throughout today's episode. Nuno, can you go ahead and introduce yourself, but also your lovely team as well?
Thanks, Caitlin. First of all, thanks for having us here. I think this is a great way to connect with customers, and we love what you're doing with the show. So Nuno Ricardo, VP of Strategic Consulting. We are a team of, for lack of better description, pure data nerds. We love data. We like looking at data. We like using data to try and solve our customers' background screening issues and also our own process issues, where we live in a continuous improvement cycle process, and we really love that part about the FA culture here. So we've been working with customers, I think, for over 9 years as a strategic consulting team. We've done hundreds of engagements. Brian, I think, is very close to hitting his 200th engagement.
Yeah. 199.
We'll line one up for him.
Yep.
So we absolutely love working with our customers, and thanks for being here, or thanks for having us here.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for being here. And we will get, Brian, we'll get you back on the show for that 200th engagement. And we'll just do a big celebration here. But all right, you described yourselves as data nerds. So let's talk about the data and let's really get into it. Before we do, quickly though, if you are watching live on Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube, if you have questions for these three throughout the episode, please go ahead and put them in the comment section across all three of these platforms, and I will get them over as I see fit as we're having our discussion. So the first section of the episode today, what I'd like to talk about, I want to talk about producing our global trends report. So Chuck and Brian, this question is for you. How many years have we been producing this?
So we've been producing bits and pieces of this report really as far back as the institutional memory of this organization exists. But the first time we as strategic consulting created this sort of unified report in something like the form it's in now is in 2019. Brian, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, back 10+ years ago when I was working with clients based in APAC, I had one in Singapore, and she'd always say, you know, when is that APAC report coming out? When is that India report coming out? And I was like, well, I have no idea. They were all done, you know, kind of by region, and the release timing was kind of variable. So that's a big change, that once we brought it in under this one team, there's a lot more consistency. We have a broader view. And then also, if you want to know when it's coming out, come to Collaborate. That's when you get your sneak peek.
We love providing that sneak peek, so be on the lookout. But obviously this one is out right now, so please download, digest it. And again, we are going through a lot of it on today's episode. So Nuno, can you share what goes into producing this report?
A lot. I mean, it's a labor of love. So, you know, we work with customers throughout the year, And as we work with them, we listen to what they're raising to us as issues that they're seeing out in the marketplace, issues facing their background screening programs. And then we start thinking about, okay, what data would help our customers inform their background screening programs in a positive way so they can make better changes for their organization. So, we take all of that into account before we start producing the report. And then we have to create context around this, right? So if we just tell you, hey, identity products are growing by over 60% year over year, yay. But if we put that into some context, like, hey, customers are telling us they're interviewing this person and then this other person is showing up for the job, that's a problem, right?
Right.
And that's what identity products help us solve for.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So all three of you, start to finish, what is your favorite part about producing this report? Brian, we'll start with you.
Well, I'd like to believe it's a feature, not a bug of my whole style. But if someone says, go do this basic thing, I go out, it's a little boring when it's nice and basic. And then I start to really peel away at that onion to see, like, what's the real story under here? What do the customers care about? So I'm really about the drill downs. We go in and say something like turnaround time. We could just keep reproducing those numbers, but that'd be kind of boring. So that's where we had one last year, in fact, that I was working with a bunch of customers that have a presence in Latin America, LATAM. And so they were having candidates complain about Chile criminal. And the reason was, with a certain type of product you could run, you'd have to get this form, and it was really tricky if you're outside the country. So during that process, we found out, well, hey, there's another option we have, and it's super easy. You just go online, click a few buttons, you're good to go. So that was during our kind of day job, figured this out. And then when we got to that data and we're looking at, our customers switching to this easier one, they actually were. So, it seems esoteric, to some of our audience, but the customers that are screening in LATAM and, Chile in particular, like, this was critical information to learn, hey, there's a better way, easier way. So I love just drilling down and then, helping them there. Chuck, what about you?
So a theme that I think is going to come out in a lot of this is just how much of this is a team effort. And Brian's drill downs really enable the part of the report that I enjoy the most, which is really almost the drill ups. So where Brian really gets us all of that critical detail, what I really love doing is taking a look at that critical detail and seeing how it aligns or doesn't align with sort of the broader macro environment, not just in the background screening space, but also, economically, geopolitically, anything else that we sort of see. And where it aligns, obviously, that's great validation. And where it doesn't align, what's the story there? And that's really where the magic is for me. What about you, Nuno?
Yeah, that's a good point you brought up. I mean, we do look at Bureau of Labor Statistics data. We look at JOLTS data, a lot of that stuff to help us inform what we do every day, but really the trends report as well. But what do I like about the trends report? What's my favorite part? I'm going to say all the arguments. So we all have very strong opinions on what a good chart looks like, what colors should go onto that chart, what the best way to present this metric is. And all of that creative friction really helps us produce a better report, in my opinion. But I would be remiss if I didn't say this, so I'm going to say it now. I really want to thank all the people that help us build this thing. It's a huge team effort, from marketing to editors to design to business intelligence folks that pull data for us, from product teams who help us answer questions, all the people in operations. It's a huge team effort. So shout out to everybody that helped us do this year.
Yeah, I want to talk about that creative friction. It's a real thing. We definitely butt heads throughout this, and it's one of those things that, we've learned as a team that we are going to get into these pitched battles, but we all care about each other. We all respect each other, and that is really true as well. I'm not just saying it. So at the end, I'm glad we had that because we're better for it. And that's where it was really great working with a lot of our new marketing partners, that we kind of had that storming and norming, and now we're like, we get it. We get each other, and we're really working so well. We can't wait for next year.
So if I can step in, honestly, I 100% agree with all of that. Our creative friction as a team is maybe one of our biggest strong points, and it is informed by a tremendous respect for each other. And one of my favorite things that happens is we'll have two people that are on opposite sides, opposite opinions of something, and then over the course of the discussion, they will actually end up, they will end up switching sides and arguing the position that we didn't have before, and we call it the do-si-do, and it happens so much more often than you'd think.
Well, I must say it does seem like you guys still love each other at the end of the day. So it's good. It's clean. Yes. Big hugs through the computer. That is great. And I will say on behalf of marketing too, it's, great partnership, and we're doing so much post launch of the report, including this episode today. So we can't wait to continue taking this report to the next level. And we're excited too for next year, but let's keep talking about this year. Nuno, I'll start with you. This is again for the three of you. What was the most eye-opening thing for you in this year's report?
I would say validation. So, we've been working in this First Advantage silo for so many years. And then we acquired Sterling. We've got a whole brand new data set to play with. And the trends we saw reflected in the Sterling data were very similar to the trends that we've been reporting on for many years. And when we brought the two data sets together, that story really came alive. So I really felt validated that we weren't just talking about trends that First Advantage was seeing. We were talking about trends that the industry was seeing. So that was really powerful to me. Chuck, I think you had a couple of thoughts on this as well, right?
So I do. Just to sort of piggyback off of that, really, I 100% agree. It's the validation. So when we're working with this incredibly sensitive proprietary data, there's always this question that we have as we're doing this, particularly those drill downs and those drill ups that we talked about earlier, where we have to say, okay, well, is this just us that we're seeing this? And when we look at those broader trends where we don't align with things, that question becomes even more salient. And so there was always this element in the back of our minds, no matter how much we reach out and try to validate and research and figure out what's going on, it was still ultimately one organization's data. And now that we were able to sort of pull everything together, we were able to say, hey, this isn't just us. This is really reflective of the broader trends that we're seeing in the background screening industry overall. And that was just so cool for me. Brian?
Yeah, for me, I'm going back to the global when it comes to global criminal in particular. It's just interesting how complementary First Advantage and Sterling are. And that sounds like a talking point someone spoon-fed me. No, it's serious. It's real.
I didn't. I promise. As the marketing and PR person, I did not spoon-feed that to him.
So,
woe to the person that tries to spoon-feed Brian Larrow something that he doesn't want to say, by the way.
Exactly. So the biggest thing is that, I've been around the global space, 12 years. And every country for criminal checking that we add is quite a bit of work, because there's so much due diligence that goes into making sure, is this vendor compliant? Like, they can't be accepting bribes to give us results. We have a lot of work that goes in to make sure that's legitimate and everything. So coming in and then seeing when we combine First Advantage and Sterling, we suddenly shot up to about 200 countries with a different type of criminal offering. Like, that really made my eyes light up. And I live and breathe, global affairs and geography. So like 200 is a magic number. Like the UN has 193 member states. Like, you look around different global data sets, and 200 is such a magic number. Yeah. So the fact that we're at that point really just says a lot. And I can't wait until all the work that product's doing to bring all these things across platforms. Once that hits, it's going to be Christmas for me. So,
and hey, Brian, what are you at about a quarter of the 200 countries that you visited?
I'm at a quarter. I'm at 42 countries. I'm on a mission to see them all. Let's just say a couple I've missed a window for. I need to wait for some stabilization, but as that happens, other ones are opening up. So I'm on that mission.
Another episode that we can schedule in the future. Every
Okay.
time you add a country, let's come on and celebrate, and we'll talk about it. But
Sounds good.
so let's move into the next section of this episode. We're going to talk about webinars. So Brian, you hosted a webinar on May 15th with our colleague Savannah around the report. So we're going to go through some takeaways that we saw there from attendees. So for poll questions, for only one of the poll trivia questions, did we see the majority of attendees vote the incorrect answer? So Nuno and Chuck, I'd like to discuss this with the two of you. So the question was, what was the most common last name search in the US? The majority voted Smith, but the correct answer is Williams.
Now we're going to get into how the sausage is made. I mean, true story. So for the last 5 years running, I think we did a piece of trivia that was, what was the most common first name? It's always Michael, spoiler alert. So we got tired of giving away Starbucks gift cards at every presentation we did because everybody knew Michael was coming. So we switched it up this year, went with last names. So I couldn't tell you why anybody got it wrong because we haven't looked at this in the past. But I can tell you that Michael was getting dated. So
yeah.
So honestly, we really just have no point of prior comparison. One thing to keep in mind with this is that last names are actually sensitive. They're PII. So this is information that we actually have to go and seek out. So it's not anything that we really have any sort of prior reference for. Yeah. So, last year it could have been Smith or Williams or Jingleheimer Schmidt for all that we know. We would actually literally have to go and seek it out. So maybe that'll be a question next year. If you're watching this and going to collaborate, start looking at your census data.
Oh, yeah. Now we have to do most common middle name.
Oh, I love that.
Let's do most common people without a middle name because I don't have one. So I think that's more. And I'd like to know who's in my court there. So let's do
my
that.
Wife, so we got to sample it too.
Yes, we're good. It's a good group of people. All right. So for the three of you, Nuno, I'll start with you. What did the attendees of the webinar, what was like their biggest takeaway? What they find most valuable?
So there's a lot of different comments that came in during the webinar. There's stuff like, our packages aren't set up to do searches outside the US. I'm not sure what the benefits of post-hire screening are. Like, can you help us with that? Around, the adjudication matrix and making any changes to that. So, if you look at it at a micro level, that's kind of all over the place. But if you take a step back and you understand the industry, what we're seeing here is people that want to evolve their background screening program to a better place, right? And in a background screening program is not a one and done deal, right? You got to nurture it, you got to grow it, you got to change it. The organizational goals change, the market changes, the searches available change. So all of those things you should be keeping an eye on and really making updates to your background screening program quite frequently. We do recommend at least doing that once a year, but we have some customers that make changes multiple times a year to their background screening programs based on what their needs are. Brian, you can probably add a couple of things to that.
Yeah. First, a point of clarification. We're talking about my 199. It's actually different customers. I have a couple of customers I've worked with over 20 times. So those are those type of customers that they really see value in. The last piece we covered on the webinar, which is this checkup. And it's just kind of like your doctor's checkup concept that you should have this routine. There's a basic number of things that every year you'll go and just double check. And we have some customers when it comes like benchmarking, how do I fit against the industry? Something like decisionals, those are results that they have to manually adjudicate. So like a crime that fits a middle bucket, and that's all time spent. So if that's something, you know what, we don't care about this crime, or you're off by your employment dates by 91 days instead of 90, they're like, well, let's change our how we score that and let First Advantage say pass that person through so we don't have to spend time. And again, those customers, shout out if you're listening, the ones that have done 20 plus engagements, they're really of that mindset. How do I keep getting better? And I really love learning from them as well, because it helps us get better too as a company. Yeah, Chuck, what about you?
So I actually really want to dig a little bit deeper into the ways that this makes us better as well. I really love things like Collaborate and the Trends Report webinar. I find that when I attend them, I learn as much or more compared to what I teach. Because it's one thing to have these one-on-one engagements with our clients, and they're tremendously valuable, and they help us to understand what the on-the-ground reality is for our customers as they're experiencing our program. But when you get people together, there's real magic that happens there. Things get surfaced that we would never hear about if people are going one-on-one. There's also validation. So if we talk about the 91 days sort of date discrepancies for employment, it's one thing to have us say, hey, we're seeing a lot of clients, moving those dates to be a little bit more forgiving so they don't have to review as much. It's a completely other thing for those clients to say to each other, we moved those dates to be a little bit more forgiving because we were passing them anyway, and now we're doing 30% less work. That's magical, and it's valuable for them, and it's also really valuable for us to hear that going on.
Yeah, that's a really good example, Chuck. Collaborate is definitely one of my favorite events of the year.
Absolutely.
I agree. Let's look forward to Collaborate 2026. Everyone, get ready. We don't have the dates yet, but we'll tell you soon. But yeah, so clearly a lot of value taken from this webinar. And then also the report as well. So talking on value, there's two areas that I'd like to drill in deeply on. It's identity and CRIM from the report and the webinar. So let's start with identity. So Brian, can you talk through the findings around identity in the report?
Sounds good. So this one's gotten a lot of traffic and a lot of interest from customers. I'll say that. But I want to take a quick step back, that when we're working on the trends report, we always go around and talk to some of our teams, like product, and they were saying, we think that identity is one that will resonate. And man, were they right? Yeah. So let me give you some examples of how that is. So going back to last year, I was working with a large retail customer, and they were standing up a program in India where they were going to have some IT professionals. So I was telling them about this thing called a proxy interview, and it was a little new to me. Turns out it wasn't new to them. So I'll give you their example of what they shared, and then you know what it was. So they said, we had a person. It was a remote hire, and they had a great interview. We talked to them. They were great. And then when they started, they were really hard to get on the phone. And when we got on the phone, it's like, this person doesn't sound right. They sound different. Yeah, I got a cold or something. So it started to be a little fishy. So they're like, all right, you need to go on camera. My camera doesn't work. Excuse after excuse. They finally got him on camera, and the voice was the original voice, but something glitched with the virtual background, and there was literally a person behind them, and they were lip syncing to that person. So it's this stuff, you can't make this up. And when I went and told that story at Collaborate, one like that, and I was like, so show of hands, who's had things like this? And over half the room raised their hands. And there are just things like that. Here's one to Google: North Korean infiltrators. You will think that I am just making it up if you haven't heard this, but it's really incredible. Yeah, I am not. I don't do that. But the amount of risk that's kind of emerged in the identity space has really been quite shocking, if you ask me. And luckily, there are some solutions for that are hot off the presses that we have.
I kind of just want to mic drop after that story and say we can help you, because that's really it. But we do have some more to cover in the identity space. So I will mic drop officially at the end of the episode. So we got some questions throughout the webinar around identity. So I did grab a couple that I'd like to discuss on here. So Chuck, starting with you, is the identity verification standard, or is it something added to screening packages?
So it is something that you add to your package. And if I were to go into detail with that, it would be painting with way too broad a brush, because we have levers that we can pull to make sure that it really matches your program and what you need out of that program. So it seems a little bit like passing the buck, but our customer success team has a tremendous deep expertise, both in that product and the needs of the programs that they're working with. And they can really make it match the program as well as possible. And it is a really good idea to get ahead of this, because this is already a problem and growing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, Brian, how does our technology show that a fake ID is not being used?
Yeah, and there's a couple layers to what we offer, but basic layer is they give us a copy of the ID, and through technology, number one, we're able to kind of scan our kind of known patterns to see, does something look off? Does it look like a fake? And then also there's just kind of your basics in our library of an official ID has a hologram at exactly this point. And if that's missing or the wrong color or something, that's going to get flagged. But what's a lot more exciting that helps you with what I just described, that proxy interview, is that you can also have a person take a live selfie video, not a picture, go on video to get liveness. Mm-hmm. Because pictures are a little easier to doctor, but we also know there are these deep fake videos now. So there is also the technology that can identify if it's a deep fake. So those are really the biggest pieces with technology. We have had questions come up of, well, hey, I have a person, they have literally no access to technology. Well, I guess they're not filling out our online form. They're probably going into your office, right? And we also have some kind of backstop options too, if you have people like that, they're filling things out on site. So it's really the technology forward aspect, but there's also some kind of backstops as well for those edge cases.
Yeah, there's clearly a lot of detail around this. So I do appreciate, the details that, Brian and Chuck, you just elaborated on there. But as Chuck mentioned, we do have a great customer support team in place when you are a customer of First Advantage to describe these solutions, how you can add them into your program, where you can add them. And then if also, too, you're not a current customer, you can always reach out to us again to find out more. I always say that on every episode, just reach out and ask the questions. We're always here to answer them. So moving on from identity, let's talk about CRIM now. So for Nuno and Brian, can you talk through some of the key findings around criminal in the report?
Yeah. So I'll focus on U.S. CRIM, and then Brian, you can probably take that globally, as you normally do.
Global. He's going to do global.
Did you guess?
Just a wild guess.
One of the things that we kind of look at every year is the impact of scope choices customers make on the percentage of reportable criminal records we report back to them. And scope can be set in many different ways. So you can have more searches, database searches, statewide searches, county searches, federal searches. You can search fewer or more years. More years tends to get you more criminal records, reportable criminal records. But one huge difference that we keep finding kind of year over year, and it's worth talking about, is how using developed names and addresses just outperforms using a single name and a single address. So if I just give you, I'm Nuno Ricardo, I live at 1223 Main Street, and that's all you search on Nuno Ricardo, you may find one or two records. I swear I haven't committed any crimes. But if you develop all my names, if you develop all of the addresses, the likelihood of finding a reportable record goes up by 4 times. And that's really huge. If part of your program is to mitigate the risk coming into your company, well, getting that really complete picture of what an applicant is really important to you. And that doesn't mean necessarily that you're not going to hire for them for a criminal record that may not matter to the position, but it does mean that you know the risks that come with that new employee. So now, Brian, I'm pretty sure what you're going to say is, Well, why stop at the U.S. border?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, knowing is half the battle, I guess, on those criminal records. So, I used to live in California for a long time, and while it might seem like another country at times, it's not. And I kind of bring that up because, our customers screening in the US, they wouldn't say, well, California has gotten more challenging because of restrictions on, date of birth and such. It doesn't mean you wouldn't check. So that's kind of the same logic I have when it comes globally. That just because someone has a crime outside the borders of the US, do you just not check? And we're realistic on that. Like a frontline retail staff, cashier, like you're playing an odds game there. But if someone professional, IT, etc., the odds are pretty high that they've lived or worked, studied outside the U.S. And if they haven't, no harm, no foul. You're not ordering a check anyways. But if they have, it's one of those things that just that ounce of prevention by checking and doing your due diligence, like it prevents you from finding out in the headlines instead.
Yeah.
That's my 2 cents, at least. Yeah, and it's not just criminal either. It's so, we have a lot of sanctions searches that we perform that alert our customers to a variety of different records found in databases all across the world and in the U.S. So it's more than just a criminal search. It's really kind of, again, just painting this big, complete picture of your candidate in as much as possible so you know who you're hiring.
And that's where I'll walk back my point at that frontline retail staff. We've seen our retail industry hit nearly 50% of all the people they screen, which is a lot. Nearly 50% are covered by a global sanctions search. And that's one of those things, if you got government contracts and whatnot, it's probably not good if you're hiring people on terrorist watch lists and you don't even bother to check. So, that ounce of prevention, that's a place where, a faster, lighter check that keeps you kind of on the good side of the law is one that we see even retail using.
Or on the good side of the newspaper headline.
Yeah, that too.
All right. So looking to what's next, we're going to end today's FA Live episode. The webinar has been completed. The report is launched and it's out there. We had a wonderful presentation at Collaborate. So now that all is complete, how should organizations be using the data from this report moving into the next year? Brian, I'll start with you.
Yeah, well, I love checklists. I love frameworks. I guess that's why I do okay on this team. So I will say the trends report in my mind is like that checklist or the framework. It's one of those things like, as you're walking through, see what kind of aha moments you have. Like, oh, this was staring me in the face, but I just didn't think about it until I read it and saw it here. And then compare that against what you see. And we find customers really do like to, see how they fit within their industry. And if you're in a lot of other industries, staffing is an obvious one. You're not one industry, you're kind of all of them. And we even see, again, something like retail, they have a lot of healthcare divisions. So there's really no such thing as one industry. So we find having a lot of different data out there helps. So that's a plug for some of our industry reports that will be coming out.
Yes.
Eventually too. Chuck, how about you?
So the easy answer obviously is identity. We know that's a hot topic that's on everybody's mind, but I'm not going to go with the easy one. I think one thing to really keep an eye on in that report is the idea of rescreening. So one of Brian's favorite phrases, and I love this too, is does your screening, your candidates don't stop at the border, does your screening stop at the border? So similarly, your employees don't stop living when they get hired by you. And if you care about things that kept someone from being hired in the first place, odds are very, very good that you care about it afterwards. And we've done case studies. There is a case study in the trends report where when some sort of post-hire screening takes place, and it can be either monitoring or a periodic rescreen, and there's benefits to both, we always find things. We always find things. And that's not necessarily to say that when you find a thing that that person is necessarily going to be terminated. So there are a lot of opportunities for organizations, particularly if someone's a long-term proven performer. So if they have, for example, a substance abuse charge that you learned about, you could use the employee assistance program to really get them back on track. So not only do you know about a potential risk, but you're also able to really do something good for your employees and your overall culture as well. And just one more thing about that, a lot of customers, when I talk to them about this, have this sort of vague idea that, oh, well, if somebody gets arrested or gets in trouble, we're just going to know about it. And that's not necessarily true. If you have a DUI on Friday, odds are very good you're going to be out and back at work on Monday. And maybe your organization doesn't care about that DUI, but maybe they drive a car for your organization and suddenly you're on the hook for that kind of thing. So much like Brian talked about those sort of quick, easy things that really keep you on the sunny side of brand incidents, I really think that there's a lot that our customers need to consider with that rescreening.
Chuck, as you were talking there, I don't know if you saw my facial expression, but it reminded me of a Birds of a Feather session at Collaborate. It was the financial services Birds of a Feather. And the topic being discussed at the time was rescreening. And a lot of customers were like, hey, what do we even do with a reportable criminal record after we hire somebody? Like, we wouldn't know what to do with it. Like, we don't have a policy, et cetera, et cetera. And one of the customers in the room that did have a rescreening program had what I thought was a very elegant solution to this. Is basically they set up an ad hoc team of, I think, legal, HR, and maybe compliance. And these folks would just get in a room, review the record, and then determine a course of action. And to your point, that doesn't mean that terminating the employee. That means, okay, he was found with drugs. Do we have substance abuse resources available that we can provide to this employee? Nurturing people is a good thing. And rescreening isn't meant to be a detriment to that. It's meant to help that.
Absolutely. And I do feel like pointing out, sometimes with a rescreen, you do terminate somebody. It's a rare organization that's super happy with having a murderer fresh out of the crime scene. But that's not always
murderers.
Yeah.
Oh boy, everyone's watching. It's probably like, oh no, we've got someone here.
Well, only one way to find out.
Oh, I was just about to say that. Ask the questions. Talk to your team at First Advantage. We will help you to make sure that if it is the case, we'll figure it out. But honestly, just such great information thus far in this episode. I want to take a minute and pause. Excuse me. And if you are watching live on Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube, if you have any questions for these final questions, get them in right now. Because as we wait for any final questions to come through, I'm going to go ahead and gather final thoughts from the three of you. So let's go in the order of Brian, Nuno, Chuck. So final thoughts.
Sounds good. So, I really mean this. I'm not just saying. I do love the collaboration piece. And in our lead up of building the trend support and all the presentations we do at Collaborate, there is a lot of work. But, we're not a team that's afraid of work. That's for sure. And it's really just so worth it when we get there and we get to share what we have, but most importantly, kind of hear that feedback. Like, I just can't get enough of it. Like, I could do Collaborate like once a month if it was a thing.
Well, no.
Hey, it's for me,
I'm going to go ahead and save my team and say, no, we are not doing it once a month.
Hey, we have other channels. So luckily, while we're not going and enjoying, the event, we have these other channels. And like I mentioned, those repeat clients and all those engagements. And it's just really a culmination, I think, when we do get to Collaborate of all we've learned over that year. That's for me. So Nuno, I think you're next.
Yeah, I'm gonna get a little esoteric here. So, I hope this comes through in the trends report. I really think of the work that goes into this as writing a love letter to our customers. We love working with our customers, learning about their programs, taking that knowledge back to the factory and kind of working with the factory to really make the wheels spin in the right way for the customer. And before we create this thing, we take a pause, we think about all of our engagements, we think about what we heard, and then we just provide data points and actionable insights that speak to that. So customers, we love you. We hope you enjoy the trends report.
Yeah, so very similar to that. This is a love letter to our clients, but it's also the house that curiosity built. In creating this report, many of the questions that we answered came in one form or another from our customers asking them of their teams. And we can't always promise that we're going to have the answer or even that it's possible to get the answer. But the relationship between this report and our customers is so permeable. And so I would encourage everyone watching this, if you have a burning question that you want to know an answer to, run it through your customer success person. We'd love to at least think about the question and, hey, maybe it'll be answered in next year's trends report.
Ask the questions. I say it on every episode. So I love wrapping up that way. As much as you, all three of you, attested your love to our customers, someone on YouTube has said their love to you. They love the strategic consulting team.
Yay!
Yes, and what an episode. It was a lovely episode. Love you guys too. You did a great job. So there are no further questions, but I know I asked you a ton, and I know there's a lot of information from today, from the webinar, from Collaborate, from the Trends Report, and everything like that. I will, before we sign off, remind our audience that you can go ahead and download the report. It is living, it is breathing, it is wonderful. And you can also watch the webinar recording as well. So if you are watching on Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube right now, it's in the comment section. I will say LinkedIn's a little weird. You got to copy the URL and paste it into your browser. So sorry about that. You can't just click on it, not in 2025. So I will just make that call out, but it's also available on our website, our other social media channels. You can see it everywhere. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. So I, again, encourage you all to download both the report and the webinar. So with that being said, I am going to thank our audience for tuning in live, or if you are watching us on demand. I want to thank my guests today, Brian, Chuck, and Nuno. You were absolutely great. I will catch everyone on the next episode of FA Live. We opened up with a bunch of waves, so let's four of us wave and say goodbye to everyone today. So
see you next time, everybody.
Bye-bye.
There will definitely be a next time. So thank you, everyone.